So if you're anything like me, you're probably seeing all kinds of different supplements and diets all over the internet claiming to boost your immune system and maybe even help protect you against the new coronavirus. So in this video, I want to take a close look at whether any of these things actually work and then lay out 4 effective science-based strategies for optimizing immune health. And I'd like to start with a quick disclaimer that I'm not an infectious disease expert, so if there's any disagreement between the information in this video and that coming from the CDC or the World Health Organization, you'll want to defer to what these sources are saying. So I want to start with the coronavirus. So the coronavirus, or SARS-CoV-2, is the virus that causes the infectious disease COVID-19, which is a new disease. Although there are several other diseases caused by other coronaviruses, this particular variant was only identified in China late last year. This is important because it means that as of now, so March 2020, there is no scientific evidence supporting any diet or supplement against this virus. Many people have been spreading the idea that if there's research supporting a certain remedy for the cold or the flu, then it should also work for the coronavirus. But that's not a fair assumption to make because these diseases are caused by different viruses that attack our bodies through different mechanisms. And according to a recent statement from Dietitians of Canada, there are no specific foods or supplements that will prevent you from catching COVID-19. Also, the World Health Organization has a comprehensive Mythbusters page clarifying the myths around hot climates, rinsing, and so on that I won't be covering in this video, but I will link it down below if you're interested. So even though the coronavirus is still too new to make any truly evidence-based recommendations, I do still want to take a look at whether or not we can sort of boost our immune system in general. And while I do think this is more well-intentioned, there are a few problems with this as well. As Dr. Mark Crislip explained in a Science-Based Medicine post, the term boost implies that the immune system is like a muscle, something that can be worked through diet and supplementation, growing bigger and stronger. But the problem here is that if you're already at an optimal baseline, you can't make your immune system function better. This type of language can also be misleading because it can create a false veil of safety that could then encourage more dangerous behaviors like delaying treatments that actually work or avoiding the healthcare that you need. So the immune system can't really be pumped up the same way that a muscle can, but maybe there are a few supplements that can simply support an already healthy immune system. Maybe we can think of these as sort of immunity top-ups rather than boosters. So before I get to my top 4 strategies, I do want to take a quick look at what the science has to say about 3 of the most popular immunity supplements that I've been hearing about recently: vitamin C, vitamin D, and zinc. So let's start with vitamin C. In 1970, so 50 years ago, Nobel Prize winner Linus Pauling published a book called Vitamin C and the Common Cold, where he claimed that taking very large doses of vitamin C could reduce the severity of colds. Since then, loading up on orange juice while sick has become a common practice. However, 50 years later, the research on vitamin C no longer looks nearly as promising. In 2013, a systematic review showed that taking vitamin C at the onset of cold symptoms didn't result in any reduction in the severity or duration of the common cold, and regularly taking vitamin C all year round didn't actually reduce the incidence of colds in the general population. So it seems we'd be just as well off simply focusing on eating vitamin C-rich foods, like fruits and vegetables of various colors, rather than superdosing supplements. Next, let's have a look at vitamin D, which does actually look more promising. Research consistently shows that low levels of vitamin D are associated with an increased risk of respiratory tract infections, including the cold and the flu. Also, a 2017 meta-analysis looking at 25 studies found that vitamin D supplementation reduced the risk of experiencing at least 1 acute respiratory tract infection, although protective effects were the strongest amongst those with vitamin D deficiency. So while you can get vitamin D from your diet, such as from dairy and fatty fish, your body also produces vitamin D on its own when exposed to sunlight. So if you find yourself not going outside as much in light of the new social distancing guidelines, you may want to consider getting a bit more sunlight if you can, increasing dietary sources like dairy and fatty fish, or consider light supplementation. Examine recommends 1,000 to 2,000 IU per day as a sufficient, effective dose range. Next, I want to cover zinc, which is the mineral I think I've been hearing the most buzz about lately due to speculation that it might inhibit coronavirus replication. And while specific claims about zinc and the coronavirus are still far too hypothetical, zinc does clearly play an important role in immune health. Roughly 30% of the world has either deficient or inadequate intakes of zinc, which is associated with increased risk of infection. And a 2017 meta-analysis found that supplementing zinc lozenges at a dose of 75 milligrams per day significantly reduced the duration of cold symptoms. However, I would still emphasize maxing out whole food options before turning to supplementation. Red meat and poultry are the main sources of zinc for Americans, but foods like shellfish, oatmeal, fortified cereals, beans and nuts are good sources of zinc as well. Also, while taking zinc at the onset of a cold might help reduce its duration, chronic zinc supplementation seems to have the opposite effect, reducing immune function by interfering with other nutrients like copper and iron. Other supplements like garlic, elderberry, echinacea, and NAC have been getting a lot of attention with the coronavirus outbreak, but according to Examin's analysis, the evidence for all of these is either weak or preliminary, especially for colds, and again, nobody knows how well this applies to COVID-19. Now, with all that said, there are definitely still good, healthy practices and habits that can have a very positive effect on your immune system, so let's have a look at my top 4 strategies for supporting healthy immunity. In my opinion, rather than supplements and diets, these are the things we should really be focusing on. Up first, try to sleep more. Both the amount and the quality of sleep you get each night can have a profound impact on your immune health. According to one 2015 review, sleep deprivation and disturbance impairs adaptive immunity, increases susceptibility to infectious disease, and reduces antiviral immune responses. The National Sleep Foundation recommends aiming for 7 to 9 hours of sleep per night. My next bit of advice is to try to stress less. While it's understandable to be more worried in a global pandemic, unrelenting high levels of chronic stress have repeatedly been shown to negatively impact immune health. And one thing I've personally been finding to be very helpful is gratitude journaling, where you regularly make a list of things in your life that you're thankful for. I found this extremely helpful as it's nearly impossible for me to feel extremely grateful and also feel very stressed at the same time. And I'll just put a list of tips up here for managing stress in case you guys want to pause and read for some more on that. Okay, up next, it is important to have a reasonably healthy diet. And the reason I'm putting this after sleep and stress is that, as I've already said, there really doesn't seem to be any way to supercharge your immune system by eating super healthy. It's just that if you eat very poorly and develop nutrient deficiencies, that absolutely can have a negative impact on proper immune function. However, according to a 2019 study published in Frontiers of Immunology, while deficiency in macronutrients and micronutrients causes immune function impairment, it can be reversed by nutrient repletion. So if you're already eating a diet consisting of whole, minimally processed foods most of the time, and consuming a wide variety of fruits and vegetables, and consuming fatty fish once or twice per week, you're already most likely doing everything you can do for your immune health when it comes to your diet. And while I would say many of you guys are probably doing this decently well, most people actually don't eat this way, with about 3/4 of Americans consuming below the recommended intakes for fruits and vegetables. Now, obesity has also been associated with reduced immune function, so maintaining a healthy body weight seems to be important here as well. It's also good advice to limit alcohol consumption and to avoid smoking, as both have been shown to have a negative impact on fighting off illness. And my last tip here is to exercise, but to avoid overtraining. Research shows that moderate to vigorous physical activity improves immune function, but very high training volumes can actually have the opposite effect, increasing risk of upper respiratory tract infections. So continuing with a well-designed training program the best that you can is a good idea for immune health, but like most of the other things we've spoke about, more is not always better, and running a super high volume, overreaching phase at this point might not be the best way to protect yourself in the midst of a global pandemic. So those are my top 4 tips for maximizing the health of your immune system. If you guys think other people would benefit from hearing this information, please feel free to share it wherever you have a voice, or you can also feel free to send it to your friends and family. And as far as new information goes, whenever that comes out, I'll continue to update this video in the description box down below, and I'll also provide links to all the resources referenced in this video there. So don't forget to leave me a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys all here in the next one.